Ascension is what the humanoids of Scorn strive for, and this can best be related to the Zen experience Satori or Awakening of the soul. I would not assume it is as intense as a full awakening, where one would lose all sense of self. This claim is based on this quote from Peckler: "The idea of being reborn is more potent than being born, because you change drastically, and you are aware of the changes." While this is the topic we have the least information about, what we do know is that the transfer begins with a humanoid entering a flying machine, turning into a grotesque stiff creature with skin covering the chest area, splitting and stretched out like wings. This is exactly what was being done to your character in the game before being connected to the hive mind, and we can see many others in this form connected as well. As ascension happens, the exodus of consciousness from humanoid bodies is devastating to the leftover husk. They are then free to search for a hollow shell, like a crab, each with its own powerful advantages. Once a consciousness has chosen their shell, the next part of evolution begins. The consciousness begins to fuse completely with their chosen shell, distorting the once empty husk into a final stage ascended form, not just wearing it like clothing, but completely adapting its characteristics. They sport an array of psychedelic colors from purples, pinks, and blues. An important detail is that all elevated consciousness creatures will always retain their tentacles no matter the form. To my surprise, it seems beings other than humanoids are able to become ascended beings. To close out this section, I want to leave you with two things. First, almost all definitions of ascension and awakenings are right. Because it is an extensively layered concept and an experience we are unable to understand, therefore making it very difficult to be boxed and explained. Lastly, for this topic I will leave you a picture of a humanoid ascended without a shell, and an observation. I was under the impression that once a being transcended, they were not existing on the same plane as our lowly Scorn protagonist. But it seems that may not be the case. There is a single sketch existing in the art book of an ascended creature using their shell as a zipline labeled for faster travel throughout the citadel. Does this mean the temple veil is something you can cross back and forth through? This is pure speculation. The realm called Polis is a place of aspiration and of reverence, of gleaming citadels and ornate murals. An abundance of vertical lines and triangular shapes borrowed from Gothic architecture gives Polis and its structures a sacred feeling, far removed from the wet grime and gristle explored during Scorn's earlier hours. Dare to study the details, however, and the key sensation that will bubble to the surface is one of sacrilege. The murals, for instance, are Scorn's interpretations of Danse Macabre, the artistic explorations of death's power so prevalent in the Middle Ages. These reliefs depict scenes where four-armed skeletal figures unzip the skin of humans and grope at the organs within. Mutilated bodies lay splayed open mid-vivisection, while other characters are gagged or outright impaled by tubing and pipework. There's an abundance of sex depicted too, and not just confined to the murals themselves. This location is overflowing with decorative sculptures of copulating corpses posed in different positions, their bodies clearly in states of decomposition as they engage in a range of sexual activities. Polis statues carry similarity to the ancient Greek god of love Eros and the ancient Greek god of death Thanatos. Their inclusion seems to be related to the work of Sigmund Freud, and in particular his exploration of the intersection of life and death drives and beyond the pleasure principle. That's a Freudian idea, expressed in a literal way. That dynamic between death and sex, the death drive and the sex drive, the whole civilization is based on that dichotomy. They don't have the same standards as empiricists, they try to figure things out through other means. For Ebb Software, these are all ingredients employed to make the player feel uneasy without resorting to gore or blood. They're not the only tricks used in this fashion. Sketches of shadowy walkways located far beneath the gleaming citadel's heights achieve this same goal with a different approach. Confusing tangles of kinked passages with frequent elevation changes, jumbled together to make for journeys as daunting as possible. There's more than a hint of the impossible staircase from M.C. Escher's relativity in these designs. Odd geometries extend to other features, such as chairs that closely resemble torture racks, or windows designed to look like natural foramens. Most unsettling of all are the treatments of the corridors stretching towards a nexus event. They're intimidating enough in isolation, with overhanging sculptures flanking the walls like hunched predators waiting to pounce on unsuspecting prey. But peer deeper into the corridor, and the structural integrity becomes unmoored as Euclidean geometry bleeds into alien-like spaces. You should have this sense of reality warping around you. As you move down the corridor, everything changes, becoming formless. That shows the location's spiritual and psychedelic undercurrents.